Oh, there we go. Okay, who's quite new at the bird list says, thanks for getting my bird list into the 60s. Oh, my absolute pleasure. As you can see, I quite like bird watching, just a little. Just listening to see if I can catch another species or two. They're moving off, and we've got leopard to look for.
At the moment they don't seem terribly interested in sparring with each other, but instead focused on the knobthorn tree that's been pushed over. Now in the spring months, around September, October, the knobthorns are the first trees to get their first new spring green leaves. And as a result, if you watch in spring, they are the trees that immediately start to get hammered, essentially, by the elephants of the area. And what they do, actually, is they provide some serious help to the various browsers that aren't quite able to reach as high as the elephants are. Sorry, there's an interesting starling fight going on. That's really interesting. So that's the Birchall starling, that's the largest starling. It's being chased by two greater blue-eared starlings, which are much, much smaller. Well done, Chandre. Sorry, I know I said I was going to make your life easier than Dave's, I've just made it harder. Chandre proving how awesome his camera work skills are.
Or not.
Or not. No, that was marvellous. I just found it fascinating that the smaller starlings were chasing the bigger starling. I think it was just advantage of numbers. Where'd they... I don't even know where they went. Oh, I can sort of see them. Yeah, I can sort of see them between the tree branches. Fascinating. Just goes to show there are certain species of bird that are aggressive and almost bullish in their approach. Starlings are one. Barbets are another. Barbets I have seen bully several different bird species. Drongos are definitely high up on the list. And then something we learned from Brent's sighting not too long ago, the lapwings that were chasing the little three-banded plover around the edge of Buffelshoek Dam. I mean, completely bizarre. And you watch them and you know that it's a sort of a product of competition, but I have no idea what upset those starlings so, except perhaps an invasion of personal space. But half the time they're quite content to sit with a sort of mixed combination of Birchall starling, greater blue-eared, Cape glossy all together. And for some reason those two starlings took exception to their Birchall's friend. And all in all, our elephants haven't even bothered to look up. That nick is familiar in that ear. It looks as though somebody actually neatly cut a piece out of that. That's not what happened, of course. That is a natural shape. He probably pricked or cut himself in some way, and then the flies settled in, the ticks settled in, and the bacteria settled in, and eventually ate away a piece of his ear that will be with him for the rest of his life, or at least that scar will be with him for the rest of his life, making him easily identifiable. But that's a really clear one. It really does look like somebody took a... Ooh, no, that gives me the shivers. I don't mean it like that. Not harming him in any way, and will just mean that whenever we see this young bull, we will immediately recognize him. Although we've got so many different elephant characters, it is completely impossible for us to keep track of them all, with the added fact that they tend to move and cover enormous distances. As I said, they've created a really nice situation here, where they've pushed over a knobthorn tree with some fresh green leaves at the top. They're not fully spring green yet, but they are fresh, and there will be other browsers coming here as soon as these gentlemen have finished. The nyala, the bushbuck, well no, not the bushbuck in this area, but the nyala and the kudu, and many other browsers will move in and start to feed off the freshly pushed over tree. And every now and again I just hear the crunching, toppling sound of another very large tree being catapulted over. The elephants are very much focused on the trees around here. And I mean, if we examine the area that we're sitting in now, we've got the elephants feeding on a fresh knobthorn that they have pushed over. If we have a little bit of a look further to the left of them, there is a bush willow, that has been mangled with branches falling down, and then the entire large bush willow, there we go, they've taken away most of the main stems of the new growth of a tree that has already been pushed over at some point in its life. And that's 2 trees next to each other. Then we've got chaos here, all elephant damage. Buffalo thorn has been completely mangled. Broken branches. And that will result in the death of that buffalo thorn most likely. Okay, then that bush willow's escaped relatively unscathed for now. The other one has been completely mangled. And then we're not even getting to the other side of the road, which is just fallen stumps absolutely everywhere. Elephants are destructive feeders. That doesn't mean that's a bad thing. And what I'm showing you is how much damage they can do to an area, but I'm not saying it's bad, because they've evolved alongside this ecosystem in order to keep the system of checks and balances in place. By destroying some of the trees and breaking them down and keeping them from, basically what they do is they keep them from overwhelming the grass layer. Now, kindness, you want to know how big an elephant has to be before it can push down a tree. It depends on the type of tree. It depends on the size of the tree. So I've seen little baby elephants push over saplings, but that I don't think is what you're asking. You're wanting to know for a big solid grown, let's take an average sized tree, let's go with not the huge one, because that's a different matter. I mean, that's a huge dead knobthorn. And they've killed this tree, but not through pushing it over. They've killed this tree by debarking it. So they've taken away the entire, essentially the plant circulation system in removing its bark. So that tree is now dead, but that's not what kindness is asking. Kindness, the answer is for an average sized tree, and I mean, I'm really going into very unscientific terms here, because what's an average sized tree? Oh, starlings are making a terrible noise. I'm trying to think of how to explain this in a good way. An average sized tree, you're probably looking at a 12-year-old elephant. That they start to gain their full strength. And of course they continue to grow throughout their lives. These starlings are being so noisy. Now we've got the birchals and the greater blue-eared in one place. Jeepers, they were making a fantastic racket. Chirp! Having a serious conversation here. I don't know what that was about. Little displays as well. Right. Are we done now? Are we finished? Sort of. Back to our elephant question and back to kindness's question. I'm sorry, kindness. Couldn't really answer you properly. An elephant continues to grow throughout its life, and the bigger it gets, the bigger the tree it can push down, until you get the massive bull elephants that are close to 6, 7, maybe even 8 tons in weight, although that's a particularly large bull that I would be referencing. And they can push down fully grown marula trees, knobthorn trees. If you ever see it, and you will, kindness, if you keep watching, you will see them push over trees. You'll get an idea of just how phenomenally powerful they are. Which makes the delicate stuff that they do, the sort of gentle touches of elephant to elephant with their trunks, or the stroking of a baby's head, or even just the delicate plucking of a leaf or a tuber out of the ground. It makes the delicate work that they do even more awe-inspiring. And it goes to show how multifaceted that trunk is as a tool. And it is essentially a tool. Anything from drinking to eating, touching, visual communication. The trunk does it all. Can you hear him crunching away? Oh, An animal of this size, and with the elephant's digestive system, which we will go into in a moment, has to eat almost constantly in order to survive, essentially, and to maintain its body weight, particularly since obviously it's plant-based eating. And Stephen, in the United Kingdom, welcome to the Sunrise Safari. I think, Stephen, this is the first time I've heard your name. I think you might be a relatively new viewer, so wonderful to have you on board. Stephen wants to know how much an elephant has to eat before it is done for the day. The answer is they continue to eat throughout the day, and it's usually around 5% of their body weight. For a big male, that can mean about 300 odd kilograms of food, which is what, 650 odd pounds, somewhere around there, in terms of food. And interestingly enough, because of the way that an elephant's digestive system works, it's very inefficient. So they will defecate out about between a third to a half of that food that they've ingested during the day. Their digestive system works very quickly, and it processes the food very quickly, but not very efficiently. On these little elephants, it'll be much, much less. So if they are, I don't know, let me guess at 3.5 tons. Maybe a bit less, but let's say 3.5 tons. 5% of their body mass would be 150 odd kilograms, give or take. 150, 175 kilograms that this elephant would have to eat during a day. But they are not as big as a huge bull elephant. They're about half the size. They're still very, very young. That's roughly 5%, which means that the elephants need to eat constantly. The only time that formula does not apply is to young calves that are still suckling, and they can suckle right up to the age of 3.5, depending upon the mother. Now, they don't need to eat as often because, of course, the milk is very, very rich in whatever nutrients they happen to need. And even though they will be feeding on plant material by the time they are 6 months old, the fact that they're supplementing it with mom's milk means that they don't have to eat as frequently, which leaves more time for learning and exploring and adventuring and whatever else little baby elephants happen to be up to at the time. Oh, someone's got an itchy ankle and resting his foot back down. And elephants, despite their size, are surprisingly nimble creatures. Not something I ever thought I would describe an elephant as, nimble, but they are nimble. I've seen an elephant, about the size of this young bull. I've seen it during a game with another male, push the male down, and then climb with all 4 feet onto a big fallen marula. Look, the 4th foot didn't stay up on the marula for long. It had to put it back down again to balance it, and then just left 3 feet on the fallen marula. But I mean, it was basically an elephant climbing a tree, which definitely comes as a surprise for those who think that these creatures have to be sort of big and clumsy. And it's important to remember that because they're fast, and if you think you can out-dodge an elephant, you would be seriously mistaken, because you definitely, whilst you might be a little bit more agile, you are not as fast as an elephant, and they can turn in their body length, if that makes any sense. They can basically spin on the spot. And then, of course, you had the elephant with Brent this morning, giving you a demonstration of how they practice their agility. A little bit of yoga first thing in the morning is good for the elephant muscles. Big stretching up. Funnily enough, we just had this, Brent and myself and friends of ours just had this conversation where he was showing us pictures of an elephant doing something very similar. You know that the elephants are desperate for food when they are trying to reach up to the tippy-tip tops of the trees, that they are actually too big for them to push over. Hey, big boy. That knobthorn is obviously well and truly done for, because these elephants have been focused the entire time that we've been here on feeding on it. And welcome to Fuzzman Sparkles. Our Fuzzman Sparkles says, after the elephant and giraffe, what is the next biggest animal on Djuma? Fuzzman Sparkles, the difficulty here is, are you talking in terms of height or are you talking in terms of mass? Because in terms of mass, it's the elephant, then a toss-up between a white rhinoceros and a hippopotamus. They come roughly into the same. So a big male hippopotamus will be slightly heavier than a female white rhinoceros. And then below that you get something like if we were fortunate enough, but I certainly have never seen any of them, but a black rhinoceros would come sort of close in for males. A giraffe will just top 1 ton if it is a really enormous giraffe. But if you're talking height-wise, which I'm assuming that you are, sure, we've got elephant, we've got giraffe, and then in terms of height, Brent. There we go. Well done, Jandre. Brent is the third on the list in terms of height. Jandre, aren't you roughly the same height? And Brian's also, I think Brian might even be taller than Brent. So we've got a very tall camp. In rough order, it goes elephant in terms of feeding height, because of course a giraffe is taller than an elephant from head height, but feeding height goes elephant, giraffe, Brian, Brent, and Jandre, somewhere sort of roughly on that spectrum. Height-wise, in terms of feeding height, kudu would probably come quite close up in terms of height. They're taller, but a big white rhinoceros would definitely give them a run for their money. But mass-wise, elephant, hippopotamus, rhinoceros, and the hippopotamus and rhinoceros is a toss-up, and then buffalo as well, and giraffe. So those would be the sort of the heaviest of the animals that we get out here, and then myself included, of course. Definitely not.
Somewhere with the dwarf mongoose.
Somewhere with the dwarf mongoose, says Jandre. Oh. Minor sparring session there. Kind of half-hearted though. It was more a gentle shove out of the way, as if to say, actually, I kind of wanted to eat that leaf. I'm sure this is how these two came to fall behind the rest of the herd. And Ali, welcome on the Sunrise Safari. Lovely to have you on board. Ali says, yay, elephants. Are there any babies around? I am absolutely certain that there are babies around. They are not here, though. So these two boys, I think, have been sort of behind or moving behind a herd. What's it called? Following behind a herd. And I'm sure that the breeding herd is off somewhere over there. And actually, to be honest, Ali, I was just about to say, I think that we should leave these two boys, unless they change their behavior dramatically in the next few seconds. I think we should leave these boys and go and search for the rest of the elephants that I can hear. Because I'm sure that it is a breeding herd that they've been following, and therefore will have little ones around. Because I think Ali, like myself, loves to spend time with little baby elephants. They are just thoroughly, by far, the most entertaining creatures. And of course, the whole time I'm listening to the Game Drive channel to see when we can get back into that lion sighting once everybody's gone through and enjoyed their time and showed their guests that amazing experience. What do you think, misters? Can you point us in the direction of some baby elephants? Not that you're not wonderful. I think they are far too focused on breakfast this morning to perhaps start sparring with each other. They're the right age. They're a very similar age. And a very similar size. Okay. Well, in that case, let us go and investigate and look a little bit further for where the rest of the elephant herd is. There's some cracking of branches over here towards Vulture's Nest. Perhaps we'll have some luck there. I do hear that Brent has been doing some interesting tracking. I'm looking forward to hearing how that's going. just to give you a long distance view, because I think that might be all that we get, unfortunately. Big grey shapes off in the distance. Can you see them at all, Jeandre, from there? Far away. There we go. Two little ones sparring off to the left, I think. It's a bit hard to tell at this distance, but that's what it looks like is happening. Oh, yep, that's definitely what's happening. And a female coming to investigate and make sure that they're not getting too rowdy. Well, we were right about the breeding herd. I was hoping they would be a little bit closer to the road, but we don't know how big this herd is, so let's go and see if there aren't some of them closer to where we can view them. Now, when I first started working here, of course, we could drive off-road for elephants. It is now our policy that because of the drought and because of the impact that we will have on the environment, we don't want to off-road more than necessary. We won't be off-roading for elephants. Let's go and see if they are around on Central Road as well. Perhaps it's a nice big herd with lots and lots of individuals. There might be some a little bit closer that we can see. Otherwise, well, such is life. I was speaking about the elephant's digestive system and back to the question that Stephen asked. The reason that the elephant's digestive system is so ineffective is because it is what's known as a hindgut fermenter, which then answers Curtis's question, and thank you very much for sending that through, Curtis. Curtis wants to know if there are any bacteria in the elephant's intestines. Yes, that's how they digest the plant material. So unlike the ruminants, that most of the digestion happens in one of the four chambers of the stomach, whether it's the rumen or the reticulum or whatever else, omosum, whatever it happens to be, the sort of repeated chewing and the bacteria are mainly in the stomach itself, whereas with elephants and zebra and hippopotamus to an extent, although hippos, you have to remember, are foregut fermenters rather than hindgut fermenters, they have plenty of bacteria that will break down the cellulose and the plant material for the elephant. So it is it's a mutually beneficial relationship. How unfortunate. I don't think I see any elephants here. There's absolutely no view of them from this road. We might have to go back to our boys. Yeah, nope, there's nothing here. Don't see any elephants. Let's just continue a little bit further up the road in case they've come out here. Now, Curtis, one of the things that these bacteria do in the hindgut of zebra and elephants is they... Oh, elephant! Here we go. Don't have to worry too much. It does produce a huge amount of gas, which is why elephants and zebra are quite bloated. Hippopotamus, it's less so because it's a foregut event. Oh, I'm still far away. What you giving me nonsense about? And now? And now what have you got to say? Don't cause trouble because your mom's going to come and want to see what's going on and how I've upset you. And I know you're full of nonsense because you're a little boy. Little teenage elephant. Yes, very big and brave. Very big and brave. Let's pretend you ran across the road for that tree. Yep, sure. I'm convinced. That is called displacement behavior. And it means that our little male elephant is being full of nonsense. Very brave when mommy's next to you. I wonder if this is the same elephant that's been giving off... Oh, she just gave us a sideways look as if to say, don't mess with my son. I wonder if it's the same elephant that's been having a weaning tantrum for the last 2 weeks. For the last 2 weeks, I've come upon elephant herds. Just watching her behavior for a moment before we reposition. The last 2 weeks, we've been watching, whenever we see one particular elephant herd, it's got a cute little baby in it, but it's not Benjamin Button's herd. Benji's a little elephant we've come to know very well. But there's been an individual that has been having a serious weaning tantrum multiple times. What I mean by that is when elephants get to an age where mom no longer suckles them, the babies often don't take very kindly to this whole process. I see you, girl. It's alright. I'm just going to come a little bit further forward. That's alright. So I can see both you and your baby. You see that slight tilt. And there we go. The little bull has calmed down and is no longer being full of nonsense. Hey, little one. Oh yes, so baby elephants, when they are weaned, they don't take kindly to it, and what they do in response is they throw tantrums. Screaming, screeching tantrums. And most of the time, the squeals that you hear from elephants is actually the tantrums that they're having because their moms won't let them suckle. And they sound as though they've been grievously injured or something when they do have these tantrums. There's much squealing and shouting.
Okay guys, I've got lots of news, but I just need to chat to Aubrey in 2 seconds, so you're going to have to wait a second. Orbs, I found Ngwemede Pamba. It's been jointed by Nisi in the block between Sydney's Mighty and Vertila Access. I'm just checking around towards Sandy Patch, see if I can find any more Mgongo. Okay, so what happened is there, hyenas looks like they've stolen that kill. And I found drag marks, but then I found another set of drag marks. So the hyenas took the kill off there, and I followed it up, but the leopard tracks are going that way. So it's hard ground, so I could see that they were definitely dragging a carcass, but I couldn't tell whether it was a hyena or a leopard till I found some soft ground. So I had to follow it for about half a kilometer before I found that confirmation that this had been stolen by hyenas. Now, there's another drag mark going the other way. So what I think has happened is the first drag mark is from where the leopard killed it and took it in. The second drag mark is from where the hyena stole it. Now, they took a little bit of puzzling, so hopefully the leopard's still in the area even though it's lost its kill. As I said, from the tracks it looks like a young male, so quite possibly young Cinderella. And there's tracks again, but I know I had his tracks further up, so, and these are running tracks. So what we're going to do is we're going to head round. Everything seems to be pointing towards Sydney's waterhole or that area around Sandy Patch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Sandy Patch, and then if we get nothing there, we're going to work our way back through the block on foot to see if we can maybe find that leopard. So unfortunate. And the tawny eagles are still around. Now it could just be a cold morning, but they're generally a very good omen when it comes to finding something. Okay. So we're going to check round now. Here's the tawny eagle again. And here we go. It is a hyena track. I got very excited there because unfortunately not. Let's keep checking. Now just an update. I don't know if Jamie's told you about what's happening on the dead elephant. On the dead elephant, there are apparently 10 hyenas and lots of vultures. So it seems very unlucky that this leopard happened to lose its kill to a hyena. And this is the absolutely riveting thing about being out every day, is you literally never know what you're going to see. You never know what's going to happen. And as the great Hayden Turner says, you never know what's around the next corner. So I'm checking all the termite mounds. Sometimes when leopards do lose their kills to hyenas, they manage to pilfer a bit back, so it could be a leg in the tree somewhere. It's always quite a little bit disheartening when you find like a drag mark, you're like, yes, leopard on a kill, and then you see that hyena paw print on top of it, and you're like, oh, leopard had a kill. It's now the hyenas. There's the other tawny eagles still around here. It's a good spot to check for tracks here. There's multiple big game paths that come out. Where are you, little leopard? Nope. Tree. Fingers crossed that the tracks don't head north. Oh, Murphy's Law. There was a hornbill. Okay, so no tracks so far, that's good. We don't want any tracks coming out of this area because then it leaves us a small little triangle of land to track in with not a massive area with no roads. So generally, it's nicer to follow tracks into small blocks between roads. Now, have a quick look on the open area around Sydney's. Maybe the leopard decided to go for a drink, but I doubt it would have come here. There's lots of puddles around still. Okay, so here we go, the open area around Sydney's. I'm just checking very carefully along here. The ground's really hard, so it can make spotting a track a little difficult. Just a stick. Just checking along the dam wall. Sometimes cats like to lie on that dam wall.
So you find me sitting in the middle of the parking lot of the DRC, which is also known as the Djuma Research Camp, not the Democratic Republic of Congo. I don't have a cameraman. I can see him running every now and again. He was running backwards and forwards there, and you just missed out on seeing Mama Z walk past. Mama Z? She's gone. Mama Z looks after us very, very well. And so, I find myself having to entertain you while Brent attempts to find signal, and we attempt to repair the problem with the camera. So, look at this. This is what happened. Oh, I can't lift the camera up. Hold on. I'm not the best cameraman. This is what happened. Oh, you got to do this. I see. See, this is the very large rubber tree that is very popular. Look, here comes Andre. He's running. See what a fantastic job I'm doing with the camera. I was showing them the tree damage and the problem with the. This is how I've approached the.
We're live, I take it.
We are live, yes. I'm sure this has made Rebecca's morning. This is the best segment ever. So this tree, no, really, now I'm into it. Now I want to finish it. This tree very, very nearly landed up on everybody's vehicles. Fortunately, it was stopped by a conveniently placed bathroom roof. And apparently Jerry sat looking out of her window in desperate fear that it was about to land on her car, which it didn't, but only just. And that is the end of the poor rubber tree, although we sort of are reluctantly clinging to the hope that perhaps it will just survive its destruction by the elephant. When I drove in here after that happened, a metal gate was flat on the road that I had to open it upwards to lift it to open it out so I could drive through. So the elephant not to be deterred by the presence of a gate. And that, are we done, Jandre?
I need to do some stuff in the menus, but I will do that.
We could, okay. Jandre needs to do some stuff in the menus, but we are sort of, we can at least take you out of the DRC because Brent's got no signal and my car won't go into, there it is. There we go. So, performing both roles, I should basically just be a cameraman.
Right, can I go back now? You don't need me anymore.
You want to go back?
You don't need me anymore.
I do need you, Chandra. Please don't leave me. I don't know how to work anything else. I can turn it around. I mean, that's pretty complicated stuff on its own, especially when you're sitting on the seat that Brent broke. And Rebecca said I was very good at turning the camera around. Thanks, Bex. I can point it in the right direction. This is the front, that's the back, and if you turn it, it shows you different things. That's my grasp of the way cameras work. It's a pleasure, Jandre. If you need any advice, just let me know. I'm now an expert. Also, sometimes you can zoom in and out, but I can't do that without it going out of focus, so, you know. Moving on. We're slowly trundling our way back in the hope that before the end of the sunrise safari we will have a chance to get back towards the lion cubs. We're just waiting for everybody else to have a turn. And there's been a little bit of a queue throughout the morning. As you can imagine, I mean, it's lions on a kill with males and cubs, and everybody's got guests that really, really want to see it. We're just letting everybody, because we had such a spectacular sighting yesterday afternoon, we're letting everybody have their turn first. Bear with me, I'm just going to have a sip of my Milo before it gets cold. Okay, so you can, we're just trying to decide how we're going to go approach doing the menu changes. The camera, it has been decided that you will stay with us until Brent gets his signal back. I don't know where he's disappeared to, but I was driving Wendy yesterday, so I know that there are a couple of problem areas. Yes, the gate is one of them. Sydney's Dam is one of the problem areas. That was the worst thing about yesterday, when we had that lion hunt and we were going black screen, and I kept picking up my game drive comms and not pressing the microphone properly down to talk. Then I forgot that I did this. Actually, it's the most embarrassing thing in the world. we were talking about planning our something. I won't go into great detail, but we were talking about planning something, and I'd had to leave the sighting to get round to take Brent's place, and the directors were wondering if we could do something, and I picked up the radio to answer them, and I said, no, we can't, whatever, we can't, because we can't do this for this reason. But I did it all down the Game Drive channel. I'd picked up the wrong radio mic, and I said it to absolutely everyone listening to their Game Drive channels. I mean, you know, cringe. Oh, so embarrassing. And in other wonderful news, Gendre will have his opportunity to do some menu fiddling, because Brent is back on the vehicle with some fresh tracks to show you. Let's head across all the way to the northwestern boundary to Sydney's Dam.
So this is getting confusing, to say the least. So I just came up towards the gate to do a quick check. Now I think I've got tracks of 3 different individual leopard at the moment. And I'm just trying to figure out what's going on. So I've got a male, big male, going towards Sibambili, actually there. And then over here, tracks of a female coming onto Djuma. And then of course tracks of a young male just down there. I just want to make sure that this big male hasn't left our traverse area, and almost just judging from the tracks, I'm trying to see if they're female tracks with the male tracks, and they could have been mating, but I don't think so. Oh, no, but then you see a female track right there. It almost looks like they're mated here, and it is quite a difficult little conundrum to solve at the moment. So let's have a quick look in front of the vehicle, see if the female tracks carry on, or they just met up with the male right here. So from what I can see, the female tracks don't carry on. So I want to make triple sure before we leave. Maybe she went down here. Nope. Okay. Very, very confusing. This is nice when they just pop out normally. Okay, so we're back to ground zero. There's a track going that way. There's a track going that way. So we've got tracks in all directions. Okay, let's go look again over here. So the only clear track I can see is of the female coming out. Sorry, I'll go around the front of the vehicle to make it a little bit easier for Dave. I probably parked in the worst position for Dave, but I got excited while tracking. Now, if this was a cartoon, you know, when you get the question mark above your head, that's what I would have at the moment. Question marks followed by an exclamation mark. So there are no tracks going that way. Okay. I don't know what to do. I'm going to check down here again very slowly. And then maybe check back up this way again. It's the Sunday morning brain teaser. Okay. So this is really, really complicated. But my favorite type of brain teaser. Often I'm at a loss
Dearie me, it seems as though Brent's signal isn't functioning very well, and my elephants have all disappeared and vanished into some very thick vegetation. There's an elephant in the bush, but it is very, very hidden, and I'm sorry, I really need to listen to the game.coms right now. I'm trying to listen to hear whether or not we can get you back into these lines before the end of the sunrise safari. There's a fantastic view of an elephant. Copy that, thank you so much. No rush for anyone involved, but it would be nice to just poke our nose back in. Hi, sorry, not listening. Okay, everybody stop talking now. Okay, I don't really know what the outcome of that was because it wasn't entirely clear. The conversation seems to be that Ephraim is still waiting to come in, as is Vernon, but Vernon is quite happy for us to go in ahead of him because he's going to stop for coffee for 15 minutes. I think that's what the outcome was, but there's still 2 vehicles in there, but they're going to be leaving at some point soon. I'm just going to keep listening until I get some clarifications. If I were a cartoon, I'd have a big question mark over my head. Just like Brent, but for different reasons. Right, let's go off in search of other things to keep you entertained, since Brent doesn't have signal and he is attempting to track down whatever's happening with those tracks. Comments made about his running. I thought it was very funny running, Chandra. Poor Chandra is devastated. Oh, that's the button that turns it down. There we go, that's much better. I was just wondering why there were off-road tracks here. And speaking of trees in the road, Felicity in New Zealand would like to know if there's anything house owners or farmers can do to protect trees from elephants. So there's a couple of questions in there. Farmers is a very interesting one because farmers involves not just trees but crops as well. And there are lots and lots of methods being investigated in terms of how to reduce the conflicts between elephants and human beings. And we'll discuss this while we attempt to loop around this tree. It looks like it might be a slightly tricky process. So beehives is one of the natural approaches that people have adopted. Obviously, I'm talking about approaches that don't involve harming the elephants themselves. There's also a technique being utilized that involves planting chili plants around the edges of farmlands. That's been used for centuries. But then also throwing chili bombs at the elephants themselves. But of course, then you have to be there. You have to be witness to the elephants attempting to munch away at your crops. Oh, it's a bit more complex than it might seem on the surface. There's a lot of different techniques that actually landowners in reserves do as well. When they really have a lovely big tree that they really, really want to protect. The rubber tree being one example, because I know that that was quite a special one. But goodness, I'm trying to get onto here. Standing by. Sorry, I will get back to your question in a moment. Okay, we still can't quite go in just yet. Okay, so answer to your question, one thing I've seen landowners do, or house owners, is pack big sharp rocks around the big trees that they want to protect with a huge sort of radius to stop the elephants from walking on them. That doesn't work. Something we've been experimenting with recently has been spraying the trees, the big trees, with tannins. Because what happens when a tree gets fed on regularly by an elephant is that it starts to, or anything, it starts to release tannins that make it very bitter and unpleasant to taste. And the end result of that is that the elephant moves on and feeds somewhere else. So the idea is that by spraying it with tannins, it will help to reduce the impact that elephants have on the various trees. And from there, there's also an attempt to put creosote in tins, and there's lots and lots of different approaches to trying to keep the elephants away from the larger tree species, or the ornamental trees is a big one. Trees that are there, placed there for their look. Most of them don't work, except for something like a chili plant or something similar. Okay guys, we'll just have to wait until Brent is available because there's lots of communications that I've got to do on the Game Drive channel. But we will wait patiently and start heading towards Buffelshoek Dam. Maybe some of the lions are trying to, or plan on heading there for a drink at some point. And a question from Dispatch wondering how we all stay so chipper first thing in the morning with very little sleep at night. Winter's actually absolutely fine, Dispatch. Winter is... Okay, just running to catch up with the rest of the herd. We'll stop here to look at the impala so I can concentrate on listening to the Game Drive comms as well. Dispatch, winter's fine. Winter we actually get plenty of sleep. It's not too much of a problem when we start at 6:30 in the morning. Summer's a bit different because we get up at about 4:30, and we generally are in bed after 10 o'clock. So summer's a bit of a longer day. But I think for all of us, the natural excitement of coming out into the bush is something that motivates us and keeps us going. I don't find myself ever in a bad mood or miserable first thing in the morning, which I know that I'm very lucky to be in that position, to face that sort of day and know that there's something exciting waiting for me on the other end. And it doesn't matter what kind of day it is, it doesn't matter if it's, as you said, funnily enough and predicted yesterday, the calm before the storm, which, by the way, I did remember and had a good chuckle about last night just before I went to bed. So I think it's where we are. I think it's the environment that we live in and the lifestyle that we need, that early mornings are, and you have to be a sort of a morning bird to do this kind of work, and most of us are. I don't think any of us really have a massive problem in waking up every now and again. When James gets back, I will most definitely have a lion at some point, as will Brent, since we've been doing a couple of drives straight, and it is you don't really have a weekend or anything like that, not that that's a problem. But most definitely when James gets back and there are more presenters on the ground, then we'll have a little bit of breathing space. And bye-bye to our impala. Okay, I need to hop onto the Game Drive channel, as I said. I've been sort of delaying to wait for Brent to get back on the vehicle. He is back up and running. Let's head over to him, and I will catch up with you, fingers crossed, with those lions.
So, finally figured out, I'm quite happy that I figured out the Sunday morning mystery, crossword, brain teaser, / frustrator. And definitely a mating pair of leopards there. So separate from the tracks we were following earlier. And they've crossed into Sibambili, unfortunately. But it looks like they were honeymooning at the Gowrie Gate last night. So it took a while. There's tracks going in all directions. So we're going to take another swing down to where we had the other tracks. Just going to update the Game Drive channel. When they stop talking. Come on, there's got to be another leopard around here. There's 3 different sets of leopard tracks. I'm almost willing an impala into a tree at the moment. I think if we think hard enough, we'll find an impala, a tree climbing impala. Although I would accept tree climbing warthog, tree climbing steenbok, tree climbing duiker. Any animal that's not supposed to be in a tree, I would accept high in the boughs of a tree at the moment. Milkberry, thick, difficult to see in. Maybe there's a milkberry there. I'm going to check it out with my binoculars. Okay. This is very wishful thinking, but as I said, maybe we'll wish. You see that dark green thicket of a tree? Now, if a leopard does put a kill in there, it is sometimes very difficult to spot. And with the marulas not having many leaves on them at the moment, any evergreen is a good spot for a leopard to pop a kill, and keeps it in the shade and keeps it hidden from vultures. Alas, the milkberry is not holding a leopard. Okay, well, I think I'm going to go to Aubrey's Road. And maybe we'll get some luck there. And remember, questions at WildEarthTV or hashtags Fari Live. If you want to ask us a question about what's going on in the African bush, the comings and goings of our lions and leopards, the history of all the big cats in the area, and maybe we can vent our frustrations about how the leopards are avoiding us today. So if you have joined a little bit late or a little bit early, depending on where you are in the world, what has happened is that I found a spot where a leopard had made a kill and then dragged it, and then before it managed to get it into a tree, a hyena stole it and dragged it off that way. And we came back, and it looks like a young male leopard. And then we went to check around the block, and we found the tracks of an adult male and a female. And you can definitely see where they've been mating. But they unfortunately departed to continue their honeymoon at Sibambili. And we are hoping that that young male leopard, the tracks we initially saw, is still in this area. Well, a fine morning to you, Matt. Matt, would like to know, is it common for hyenas to take over a leopard kill? Very common. And one of the reasons leopard put their kills in trees when possible is to avoid losing their kill to a hyena. Okay, so I had another set of young male leopard tracks around here. Somewhere about here, if I remember correctly. There's so many tracks, it was difficult to work out which was the most fresh. So, you know, these I know are not fresh, they're probably from yesterday. And there was some quite strong wind last night, and those tracks are suffering from wind damage. So you're going to have to take my word for it. Let me just see. Okay. There. Now that is a young male leopard track. But you can see the edges aren't defined, and that's due to the wind blowing over it. Okay, well, we know that's not from this morning. The other tracks we had were a bit better. And I'm hoping that if he did, or he definitely did lose his kill to the hyenas, that he decided the best direction to go was east. Now, this is complete guesswork, I do admit, but as the old saying goes, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. Now, of course, it's better if you're lucky and good. Hi, Trina. Trina is in New Jersey, and Trina's wondering, do leopards ever team up or hunt together to get larger animals? Unfortunately, not. They are very much solitary cats. We do see them together sometimes on kills. A male leopard will often steal a kill from the female, and also when they're mating, or when they're cubs and the dominant male around. But generally they will do their hunting alone. I don't think there's ever been a recorded case of cooperative hunting in leopards. Well, wouldn't that be exciting to be the first people to see it? Now, they've evolved to be non-cooperative hunters, and that's why they've got that dappled coat, and they're perfect ambush or stalk predators. And that's also why they try and keep their kill in a tree. They don't like sharing. Well, neither do lions, but they just beat each other up while sharing. I heard, might have been mistaken, I thought I heard a dwarf mongoose, but can't see any. Now this is a favourite spot for Shadow. We found her sitting under that brown ivory tree quite a few times. Alas, not today. I think yes. I think Aubrey's Road is a good gamble. Also give us a chance to have a look at the hyena dens, see if they've possibly moved those dens from the Manuleti back onto Djuma. These are the closest set of dens to the Manuleti boundary, so it's quite likely if they are going to move the dens, it'll be to these dens first, so we're going to go have a squiz there. I'm probably not going to find too many adults around that den with a dead elephant less than 2 kilometers away. Quite a chilly morning. Oh, isn't that beautiful? I'm going to get a gap to show you. And let's have a look at that incredible little ray of light piercing through the sky. And while we go from a beautiful sky, and Jamie's got some gorgeous cats.
Gorgeous cats moving through a beautiful red and orange bush as one of the females slowly makes her way towards the Buffelshoek Dam area. Well, I say that. She's now just moved south, which was not what I was expecting her to do. But I think she might just be walking around some of the denser vegetation before she goes off and joins one of the males at Buffelshoek Dam. He is apparently there. Okay, let us see how we go in terms of our signal. You can accompany us down into the drainage system and you get an idea of the trickiness of this particular area. So everybody watch your heads. You got it, Chandra? let us get a lay of the land here and decide where is going to be best. The reason I'm not rushing off to follow that lioness towards Buffelshoek Dam is because the vehicles are with them at the moment. So there's a lineup for that as well.
Welcome to the Aubrey's Road Sunday morning lottery. We're just going to try for the hyenas. We're going to try hope that that young male leopard who lost his kill has come to the east. Okay. Dum-dum-dum-dum. Well, it seems like the weather is playing havoc with our signal today. We do apologize for that. Darn you, clouds. Darn you. But Jamie has managed to get into a spot with good signal, so let's go back to the Nkuhumas.
Oh, the little cubs have just been having such a special conversation with their mother. Utterly adorable, calling her with that ow, ow, ow sound that they make. Oh! Collision course with one of the females. Listen to this. How awesome are those sounds that they make? They're just so incredibly special. So playful. I'm scared of repositioning, but I think that we're going to have to. I stopped here so that we had signal, just so you could see them talking to their mum and each other, but now they've moved into a slightly trickier spot. I'm hoping we don't lose signal if we go a little bit further forward. Oh, battering each other. We won't go too far down. Let's try it that way. We'll just go far enough that we can see. Oh goodness, VR rig. Oh, I have to turn on. Don't want to scratch the lenses at all. By now I've got the idea, if you were watching from the start of the sunrise safari. We do have the lioness feeding. I think that will be our approach. I think if we sit here and we can keep signal a little bit, it might be the best way of going about things. Amber Eyes is munching away. She definitely seemed to be the hungriest yesterday. Oh, little cub. Now, speaking about Amber Eyes and the fact that she very often initiates the hunts that the Nkuhumas go on, Brenda, you wanted to know what position Amber Eyes adopted in the kill yesterday. Honestly, Brenda, it was so chaotic, I'm not 100% sure. I think that she might have been the one that was clinging to the top of the buffalo, but I really honestly don't know. I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to look back on the footage to try and see which lioness was where exactly Amber Eyes was in all of that chaos. There was just so much to look at and to watch and to concentrate on in terms of where we were driving that I really don't know. Chandra, I don't think you would have noticed either. Chandra was busy concentrating on filming. This little cub has found a stump, which might be the best toy ever invented. I love them, they're so cute. The way that they make anything a toy, it's just utterly adorable. This one's got a stump. The one on the right, I don't think Chandra has the best view of, but it's got a piece of bark that is now its chew toy. Oh. Ow. Ow. Such cute noises. fierce little lion roars, sort of. And then Amber Eyes has shifted herself around to start feeding on the carcass. And since we were last here, they've devoured most of the neck and the muscles. And they've started entering into the chest cavity. Just bear with me 1 second. I just need to chat to Vernon. I do, standing by. Absolutely, you're welcome to make your way. I think Ephraim's pulled out of this sighting just off Nyala Road North, so you're welcome to come. Look at it fiercely going about the very serious business of feeding, which is really tricky when you've got little baby milk teeth. And it looks as though we're actually going to be able to spend the rest of the sunrise safari with these little things, which is so incredibly exciting. I can hear another lioness. Can't see her at the moment. We are going to need to do some shuffling around, which means that I'm going to have to give up this position, and that could mean that we are going to lose our signal. So just bear that in mind. Vernon, I can hear on his way to come and join us. So when he does get here, we're going to have to move, and that might mean that we lose signal. I'm actually thinking of backing out of the sighting and letting him go in first. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that quickly first. And for now, while we do that, I'm going to send you over to Brent. So jump back on with him, and then you'll be back on Rusty very, very shortly.
So it seems like we played the wrong lottery numbers this morning, because the Aubrey's Road lottery, hyena den and young male leopard tracks proved to be an absolute failure. But not completely, because we now know for sure that both those hyena dens are not active. So while playing the lottery, let's go check the Gallagher shortcut hyena den. Now hopefully the cloud will break up and we'll have a beautiful evening for the sunset safari. Even if it doesn't, it's always wonderful being out in the bush. And we are some of the very few people, I think, in the world who absolutely adore our jobs. It's an absolute privilege to be able to go out every day, and privilege to be able to share it all with you. I think if you asked me when I started my guiding career that I would be taking thousands of people on safari at one time, I would have probably chuckled and said, "Oh, this is not 2069." But it's incredible that the technology that we have is, and we're able to share it with you wherever you might be in the world. Of course, we have an incredible team that makes that possible. And the tech department, led by Peter Brat, Alex, the Russian binary code reading genius, and of course, Connor, the muscular machine that keeps us on the road every day. Okay, spin the wheel of fortune into the Gallagher shortcut hyena den. Dun 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Unfortunately not. If we have a look, no sign of fresh tracks around any of the burrows. So they're not here yet. Now, hyenas have sometimes 20, 25 different den sites that they use. As the fleas get bad, or there might be too many male lions hanging around, but they will move dens quite regularly. We've been quite spoiled with the fact that they stayed in certain dens for as long as they did. An interesting nest up there. Let's have a look. Is it a nest or is it a ball of twigs? Can you see it there, Dave?
Yeah,
it looks like a nest. Doesn't look like an active nest though. Very difficult to say what bird species it is. It's quite big. Gonna have to keep an eye on that, especially as we go towards summer. Maybe we will find another bird for the list on top of a nest. Oh, well done, Michael. Michael has managed to improve his bird list on this sunrise safari from 37 to 40. Well, Michael, the next big milestone in your birding list is 50. So hopefully we're going to be able to produce 50 bird species for you. Oh, why don't we try and find just one more, Michael, for your bird list today, as our leopard and hyena lottery has proved not too successful. I suppose if you compare tracking to the lottery, when you find those fresh tracks or whatnot, it's like that little prize that keeps you playing. And then you get the lottery winner, which was certainly Jamie and Genre. They won the grand, what do they call it? Jackpot grand prize. Prize down in the drainage. Somebody's been digging here. Well, I'm going to wait for you guys to let me know. Should we check or should we leave it another night? And in the meantime, let's go across to Jamie and the lions.
We have amazing news. Not only do we have the little cubs feeding off the carcass, but the other two have come down and are barreling about with their mom. Oh, they've just vanished. That's what I was worried was going to happen, unfortunately. They have just started suckling at the back there. And they're, you know what? We said that they were a middle set. They're not. They're the same age, if not older than the three that we've been seeing the whole time. We just didn't know that they existed, and they've been so skittish initially that we haven't got a good chance to see them. But to me, they are... There we go, hello. To me, they're actually bigger than the triplets that we thought were the ones that were born first. If not, it is very, very close in terms of age. They're playing peekaboo with us. Look at them! The two cubs that we've hardly ever seen. Oh, come on, Amber Eyes. You can't be cross with two little cubs. Oh, they're so gorgeous. Hi, you two. Come visit the carcass. Come see what's happening here with your cousins. And we finally managed to get ourselves some signal. We found ourselves in the perfect spot. And what absolutely a magical way to finish off our sunrise safari. Little cubs suckling on one side, full lionesses. Amber Eyes feeding away, sharing her personal space with two cubs that have their heads inside the buffalo jaw. How's that for an absolutely incredible image? And they're growling at each other. Already that instinct has kicked in. It goes to show how much of a lion's behavior is instinctive. Their natural reticence to approach a carcass and feed initially when the other lions are feeding, their fear of the males, and then the knowledge that they could comfortably approach, reading other lions' body language. They're only a couple of months old. Everything that we're seeing here is pure instinct. Sorry guys, here comes the male lion making his way down. I didn't see him initially. He is stopping to relieve himself, and I'm trying to listen to the Game Drive channel again. I am so sorry. Vernon Ephraim has pulled out. You're welcome to make your way in. Thank you for your space. Affirmative, that's going to be your best approach. Sorry guys, just chatting to Vernon on the Game Drive channel to let him know what his best approach is going to be. There's one little cub that's worrying me ever so slightly, and I'd noticed earlier that it was quite sleepy when we first got here. The little cub that's lying with the rest of the females, I think it's a she, not 100% sure, but does have a nasty limp. I don't know what kind of injury has been inflicted. Oh, here comes Amber Eyes, and the male looking at the male, standing by. A good point. I might have to squeeze past the other road that's further to the south is now closed, so I might have to come back the way I came in. But you're welcome to pop in, and then I will make a plan on the way out. Oh, copy that, thank you. Sorry guys, it's a really tricky position to be in, and being able to navigate around here is very, very difficult. See how alert the lionesses are. Just a few moments left with these lionesses. Look at that image of Amber Eyes, her face covered in gourd. And unfortunately we are running out of time to spend with these amazing lions, but I'm glad that we got to bring you back into this sighting once again, just to spend as much time as possible with these amazing little creatures, and their mothers of course, who were responsible for the meal that they have provided. And so we're coming to the end of our sunrise safari, and we have to say a very big thank you to Jandre for his fantastic camera work. We're going to not take you away or draw your eye away from this amazing scene. So a big thank you to Jandre for his fantastic camera work, as well as to Rebecca and to Chelsea in Final Control. Now I am also saying my goodbyes on behalf of Brent, so a big thank you to Dave as well. And from both of us, the biggest thank you goes to all of you watching this live safari every day, twice a day. Hope you have had an amazing time and you're enjoying these closing images. We will be back here for the start of the sunset safari. Until then, enjoy the rest of your day.